Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this bill, the Kenya National Council for Population and Development Bill 2023. Mr. Speaker, I understand that this bill is supposed to enact into law an already existing body called the National Council for Population and Development, which is existing based on the State Corporation National Council for Population and Development Order 2004, which means, Mr. Speaker, this body has actually been in existence, but what this bill is aiming to do is now to put this body as a statutory body in law. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the need to do this because population is a very important data for this country, because population is central to our planning. Population is central to our development, and basically every aspect of our development is based on the population. For example, Mr. Speaker, when we talk about sharing revenues in our counties, the formula that we have just passed a few months back, population was a very important variable in that formula. So population helps us to determine how much each county should get. Mr. Speaker, population is also key in delimitation of our electoral areas in this country, and is provided for in the Constitution. Population is also key in our budgeting to determine how resources will be shared across the country. So population is a very, very important data variable in this country. But Mr. Speaker, as has been said by the majority leader, the population data that we are relying on is incorrect, Mr. Speaker. And this was confirmed via the court ruling, that the population census data that this country is relying on is inaccurate. And Mr. Speaker, you know that a lot of government resources was used to come up with that census, and census is done after every 10 years, and it is quite surprising that a country can spend billions of money to carry out a census only for the results of that census to be declared incorrect and invalid. I think someone should have been responsible for that mess, Mr. Speaker. But this being Kenya that we know, everything that is done in this country is never taken seriously, and people go scot-free, even where mistakes and violations of law are clearly evident. Mr. Speaker, I was reading through this bill, and I thought that I was actually in those old ages of life, many hundreds or thousands of years ago. Because, Mr. Speaker, in the modern world of data and technology, we shouldn't be struggling to know what our population is, Mr. Speaker. You can imagine that this country takes 10 years, and then they conduct a survey called the census, which does not give good results, and then 20 years later, they discover that they have been relying on wrong data as their population. Mr. Speaker, in the modern world, it's very easy to determine what your population is at the click of a button, Mr. Speaker. How do countries with a huge population like India and China determine their population. They don't do census, Mr. Speaker. It is very easy to know how many Kenyans are there. Because when a child is born, he's given a birth certificate. When someone dies, he's given a death certificate or a burial permit. Where does this data go to, Mr. Speaker? Where does this data go to? When kids go to school, they are registered in schools. Where does this data go to, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, we wouldn't be wasting a lot of money conducting census to determine our population when we sit on this data every day, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I believe it would be very easy to know almost to perfection the population of this country if this country invested in data management. And Mr. Speaker, countries that are succeeding globally are countries which have invested in data management. The United States, Mr. Speaker, will continue to be a superpower in this world because they have invested in data. That is why they are even paying to get our health data, because they understand the importance of data. We are in this confusion, Mr. Speaker, because we do not know how to tap our data, Mr. Speaker, how to manage our data. Why would you have a body composed of 13 people on the board, on the council, and they still cannot be able to determine the population of the country, Mr. Speaker? When you can determine this by a click of a button, Mr. Speaker. When we talk about road to Singapore, how are we going to reach Singapore when simple things like determining our population, we cannot do them, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, if I had a way of advising this government, I would advise them to invest, maybe have a national data center where all the data that is collected is harmonized, and that data used to determine a number of things, including population. And I know there was an initiative during Kibaki's time when they started something called integrated population data management, which was linking actually the Department of Birth, Death, it was linking IBC, it was linking national ID registration and the others. What happened to that exercise? If that exercise was done very well, Mr. Speaker, then we wouldn't be struggling with the population to know how many are we in this country, where is every Kenyan in this country. It would be by click of a button. So I want to advise this government for free that they need to take seriously the issue of data, because data is the next oil for this world. Without that, we will be engaging in pointless and expensive exercise like what we are doing, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for instance, right now, we are struggling with a voter register. We don't know who is alive and who is dead in that voter register. And yet we are sitting on that data. The office that registers death knows who has died in this country. The office that registers birth knows who has been born in this country. Our Ministry of Education has a system, NEMIS or something, that knows who has registered in a school, at what age, who is going to secondary, all that data. You are telling me, Mr. Speaker, we cannot analyze that data to determine important variables like population, or to determine, even with a click of a button, who is supposed to be a voter and who is not supposed to be a voter. IBC is now asking for billions of money, Mr. Speaker, to conduct voter registration, when all they need is to invest in technology and get this data by a click of a button, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, as someone who has vast knowledge in technology and IT, I want to advise this government, which promises to go to Singapore, I don't know on foot or how, that Senator Mungatana is saying by air. I don't know how they will go if we cannot do these simple things, Mr. Speaker, because I believe that going to Singapore is not just brick and mortar, Mr. Speaker, but some of these things, simple things, can aid our going to Singapore very easily if we have the right data in place. And we'll do a lot of saving. For example, what is really the function of this board, Mr. Speaker? When the same work they are doing can be done by other government departments. For example, when I look through this bill, it reads like another bill we passed here for National Bureau of Statistics, Mr. Speaker. The Ministry of Planning conducts some of these things. This can as well be a department within the Ministry of Planning, Mr. Speaker. Why should it be an independent statutory body, Mr. Speaker? Why do we keep on contradicting ourselves as a country? A few months back, we were told that they were going to merge various parastatals to reduce on the wage bill and also to reduce on government expenditure. But instead of implementing that report, Mr. Speaker, we are now seeing them create additional statutory bodies and parastatal. When you look at it, you wonder, Mr. Speaker, are we serious as a country? This is probably a function that can be done through a meeting, Mr. Speaker. When I look at the list of people who are on the council, half of them are government officers who can sit in their offices and make decisions on these things, Mr. Speaker, without wanting us to spend exchequer to run a body that ideally should not exist, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm expressing my frustrations because sometimes you look at the kind of wastages we do in our government or in our public life, and you wonder, why would we spend, like I'm sure this body will be given maybe, to be modest, at least 500 million shillings every year. Mr. Speaker, that money can go to construct classroom in Vihiga, Tana River, or Bungoma, Mr. Speaker. But we are paying people to do the job that they must be doing. When I look at the list of the council members, I see the PS for health, I see PS for basic education, I see the Attorney General, I see. Why can't they just sit in their offices and do a meeting and have these things done, Mr. Speaker, without occasioning the need to set up a parastatal or a body that is going to consume money, Mr. Speaker? So, Mr. Speaker, even as I support this bill, I have to voice my concerns on the plunder of resources in our government through